Some people drain us not because they are bad, but because they refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. Helping them feels noble at first, but soon you realize your time, energy, and even your identity are being consumed. The paradox of helping is that what starts as kindness can end as sacrifice, not for their betterment, but for their dependency. Then there are the energy drainers. They show up in our lives, always needing something, always taking, never giving. You find yourself exhausted after every encounter. They don't necessarily ask for money or favors. Sometimes it's your attention, your presence, your emotional bandwidth. And little by little, they siphon away the fuel you need to live your own life. Some people live in constant chaos. They thrive in drama, and when you step into their world, you get caught in the storm. They call you in the middle of the night, not for emergencies, but for spectacles of their own making. The moment you try to solve one crisis, another appears, and before long, their life becomes your life, except it's not the life you chose. There are the chronic victims. For them, life is always unfair, the world is always against them. They come to you not for solutions, but for confirmation of their suffering. They don't want your advice, they want your agreement that nothing can change. And the more you give them your shoulder, the more they lean, until you carry the weight of problems they never intended to solve. Beware the manipulators. They're the hardest to see because they cloak themselves in the language of need and friendship. They'll say they can't do it without you, that you're the only one they trust, that you're heartless if you walk away. But behind their words lies an agenda control. The moment you give in, they've got you exactly where they want you. Helping the wrong people doesn't just cost you time. It can cost your reputation, your opportunities, your mental and physical health. Suddenly, you're missing deadlines because of someone else's emergencies. You're losing sleep over battles that aren't yours. You're defending yourself against accusations in situations you never should have been in. One small yes to the wrong person can spiral into a lifetime of consequences. There's a difference between compassion and self-destruction. True help empowers people to stand on their own. False help keeps them dependent on you. Boundaries are not cruelty, they're protection. And without them, your generosity becomes a trap. Learning to say no is not a rejection of humanity, but a declaration of your own worth. The people worth helping are not the ones who keep you stuck, but the ones who want to grow. They take your support and multiply it, not drain it. They rise, and in their rise, they lift others. But if you keep giving to those who refuse to move, you'll find yourself sinking with them. Helping everyone is not kindness, it's recklessness. There are people in our lives who seem to arrive with smiles, with warmth, with stories that make us lean in. At first, they appear harmless, maybe even endearing. But over time, you begin to notice a pattern. Every interaction leaves you tired, not energized. These are the energy drainers, and they rarely come announced. They don't always ask for money or favors in obvious ways. Sometimes what they want is your time. They linger on the phone for hours, repeating the same complaints, circling the same problems, with no intention of changing. You hang up feeling drained, not because the conversation was long, but because it was empty. Other times what they take is your emotional presence. You walk into the room full of life, but after 10 minutes with them, you feel smaller, heavier, less hopeful. They carry an invisible vacuum that pulls in your enthusiasm, your optimism, your light, until all that remains is fatigue you can't explain. Energy drainers are skilled at disguising their need as friendship. They ask how you're doing, but it's only a prelude to how they're doing. They listen just long enough to turn the spotlight back on themselves. And because you're kind, you stay, you nod, you give them space to unload, forgetting that your own space is shrinking in the process. Their presence spreads like weight on your shoulders. You begin to anticipate the exhaustion before the meeting even happens. You start dodging calls, avoiding encounters, secretly hoping they won't notice. And yet, the guilt of avoidance weighs on you too, because you know their dependence feels like your responsibility. What makes them so dangerous is not just what they take, but how they make you believe it's normal. They condition you to think that giving endlessly is what good people do. They shape your habits until you've forgotten that relationships are supposed to flow both ways. Not just one direction. You may begin to notice the cost in subtle ways. You have less energy for your own goals, less patience for the people you truly love, less clarity for your decisions. It's not that you don't have time, it's that your time has been stolen in fragments, consumed without your permission, until you're running on empty. And here's the hardest truth: energy drainers will never see what they're doing, because for them, taking is natural. They are not looking to fill you back up. They are looking for a constant source to plug into, and as long as you let them, you will always be their battery. Some people carry storms with them wherever they go. The masters of drama don't just experience problems, they manufacture them. Life for them is not about peace, it is about spectacle. And if you stand too close, you will be swept into their chaos before you even realize it. They thrive on urgency. Every situation is an emergency, every phone call is critical, every text message demands immediate attention. You drop what you're doing because they sound desperate, but soon you learn that the emergency was never urgent. It was just another episode in a series they keep on repeat. What makes them so dangerous is how they recruit others into their storyline. They cast you in roles you never auditioned for. The rescuer, the advisor, the comforter. And when you play along, their drama becomes your drama. Their instability bleeds into your stability, until you're living a life that feels hijacked by someone else's script. The masters of drama are magnetic, not because they are inspiring, but because they are entertaining. Their stories are filled with betrayal, conflict, and suspense. And even when you don't want to, you find yourself drawn in, watching, listening, participating. Before long, you're no longer a bystander, you're part of the show. They don't solve problems, they recycle them. The same issue reappears in a new costume. Different names, different places, but the same pattern. And because you care, you try to help, you try to fix, you try to guide. But the truth is, they don't want solutions, they want attention. And your energy becomes the fuel that keeps their fire burning. Being around them begins to rewire your own sense of normal. Constant chaos starts to feel expected. You brace yourself for the next crisis call, the next meltdown, the next emotional explosion. And soon your nervous system is no longer calm. It's conditioned to anticipate drama that isn't even yours. The cost is heavy. You lose focus on your own path because you're busy cleaning up theirs. You abandon your priorities to handle their breakdowns. You silence your own peace to listen to their noise. And slowly you forget that life can actually be steady, quiet, and fulfilling. Because their storm has convinced you that turbulence is natural. The masters of drama are not looking for calm waters. They will always stir the waves because without chaos, they feel irrelevant. And if you are not careful, their storm will become your storm. And you will find yourself drowning in a sea that was never meant for you. Some people wear victimhood like a badge of identity. The chronic victims are not defined by who they are, but by what has been done to them. Every conversation circles back to how unfair life has been, how cruel others have been, how hopeless their situation is. And while their stories may be true, their attachment to suffering is stronger than their desire to change. They don't come to you for answers. They come to you for affirmation that they are right to feel powerless. They want the nod, the sigh, the soft agreement that life is indeed stacked against them. And the more you listen, the more they reinforce the belief that nothing can improve, not because it can't, but because they don't want it to. When you offer a solution, they dismiss it. When you share a perspective, they find the flaw. When you point out a path forward, they remind you why it won't work. They are not searching for doors, they are searching for walls, because walls justify their decision to stay exactly where they are. The chronic victims are not simply suffering, they are addicted to sympathy. Every moment of pity is like fuel for their identity. Without it, they would have to face the truth that healing is possible, but healing requires responsibility. And responsibility means letting go of the story that has kept them safe. They place you in a position of constant rescuer. Every time they fall, you rush to pick them up. But no matter how many times you help, they end up in the same place again. The cycle repeats endlessly, and while they remain stuck, you become the one who is drained, frustrated, and powerless in the process. Their negativity begins to seep into your own thinking. You start questioning your own optimism, your own drive, your own hope. Spending too much time with them can trick you into believing that progress is rare, that people can't change, that circumstances are stronger than choice. And soon, their victimhood becomes contagious. What makes them so heavy to carry is the illusion that they want help. They appear vulnerable, they seem open, they speak as though they're ready. But deep down, they are only seeking confirmation of their suffering, not transformation of their life. And no amount of your energy can shift someone who refuses to step out of the role they've chosen. The truth about chronic victims is this: they don't want to be free, because freedom would mean the end of the story that defines them. And so, they will cling to the comfort of their pain, asking for sympathy again and again, while rejecting the very solutions that could set them free. Manipulators rarely appear in obvious form. They don't arrive with warning labels, and they don't announce their intentions. Instead, they present themselves as friends, as supporters, as people who need you. They use the language of closeness to mask their true motive, to take more than they ever intend to give. They are skilled in emotional camouflage. They know how to sound vulnerable when they need help, and they know how to sound caring when they need your trust. Their strength is not in honesty, but in persuasion. And the danger is that by the time you realize you're being used, you've already given away far more than you intended. Manipulators thrive on guilt. They will remind you of what they've done for you, even if it was small. They will position themselves as victims if you hesitate, suggesting that you are heartless for saying no. They twist kindness into obligation, so that every act of generosity feels like a debt you must keep repaying. They also know how to flatter. They tell you you're the only one who understands them, the only one they can trust, the only one capable of helping. It feels special at first, even meaningful. But what they are really doing is isolating you, making sure you stay in their web while they quietly pull the strings. Over time, you start to notice the imbalance. You're always the one giving, sacrificing, adjusting. They, on the other hand, are always receiving, benefiting, gaining. Yet they convince you that this is mutual, that you're partners, that your loyalty is proof of your goodness. And in believing that, you allow the cycle to continue. What makes manipulators so dangerous is how they rewrite your perception of reality. You question your own instincts. You doubt your own boundaries. You wonder if maybe they're right, maybe you do owe them, maybe you are the selfish one. Their power comes not from force, but from bending your mind until you forget what fairness looks like. They rarely ask directly, they nudge, they hint, they imply. And without realizing it, you start offering, volunteering, stepping in before they even have to request. They've trained you so well that you become your own captor, doing the work they no longer need to demand. That is the art of manipulation control without appearing controlling. By the time you recognize a manipulator, the damage is often done. Your trust has been eroded, your generosity exploited, your confidence weakened. And though they may still smile, still pretend, still say all the right words, the truth is clear. Their friendship was never friendship, it was strategy. Helping the wrong people does not just drain your time, it reshapes your life in ways you don't immediately see. At first, it feels like small sacrifices. A little less sleep, a little less focus, a little less energy. But those small sacrifices add up, and before long, the cost is no longer invisible. It becomes the weight you carry every single day. Your peace is often the first casualty. You find yourself restless, unable to relax, constantly worried about someone else's problems. Even when you are alone, their voice echoes in your mind, their crisis overshadows your thoughts. The quiet moments you once enjoyed are replaced with tension, anxiety, and a feeling that you're never truly free. Then your health begins to suffer. Stress from constant involvement in other people's chaos can turn into headaches, fatigue, or sleepless nights. Your body starts keeping score, reminding you that you are carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. And while you pour out your strength for them, you have less left for yourself. Reputation is another hidden cost. When you attach yourself to the wrong people, their behavior reflects on you. Their drama becomes linked to your name, their failures become whispered about as though they're partly yours. Others begin to wonder why you tolerate such toxicity, and your credibility erodes simply by association. Opportunities slip away as well. Time spent managing someone else's crisis is time not spent building your own future. The hours you lose, the focus you surrender, the energy you misplace, all of it diverts you from the path you were meant to walk. And the longer you remain entangled, the further you drift from your own goals. Relationships outside of the toxic ones begin to suffer. The people who truly love you, family, friends, partners, feel your absence. They notice your distraction. They sense that your best self is being wasted on someone who doesn't deserve it. And slowly, the connections that nurture you begin to weaken under the shadow of the ones that deplete you. What makes it so damaging is the illusion that you are doing the right thing. You convince yourself that sacrifice is noble, that giving endlessly is virtuous. But nobility without wisdom becomes destruction. You end up not as a savior, but as collateral damage in someone else's unwillingness to change. And perhaps the greatest cost is the future you never see. Every wrong yes delays the right opportunities. Every time you rescue the wrong person, you risk not being present when the right doors open. The life you were meant to live is quietly postponed until one day you wake up and realize that helping the wrong people didn't just drain your present. It stole your future. Helping others is one of the most beautiful parts of being human. It connects us, it gives meaning, it reminds us that we are not alone in this world. But when help crosses a certain line, it stops being compassion and becomes self-destruction. The hardest lesson is learning where that line is drawn. True help empowers people to rise on their own. It gives them tools, encouragement, and confidence to stand without you. False help, on the other hand, keeps them dependent, coming back again and again, never learning, never growing. When your presence becomes their crutch instead of their strength, you are no longer helping, you are enabling. Boundaries are the markers that protect both you and the other person. Saying no does not mean you are cold, unkind, or selfish. It means you recognize that your energy, your time, and your peace have limits. And without limits, even the most generous heart eventually runs dry. Compassion does not mean compliance. You can listen without agreeing. You can care without fixing. You can show love without carrying someone else's burdens as your own. The moment you begin to mistake compassion for self-sacrifice, you hand over your power and call it kindness. The boundary between true help and self-destruction often comes down to intent. Ask yourself, is this person moving forward with my support, or are they standing still? Do they want guidance, or do they only want rescue? The answer reveals whether your effort is an investment in growth or a donation to endless need. It is also about sustainability. If helping someone consistently leaves you exhausted, resentful, or diminished, then it is no longer help. It is harm, and not just to you, but to them as well. Because by burning yourself out, you are teaching them that love means self-erasure, and that lesson serves no one. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are fences that guide healthy connection. They protect what is sacred inside of you so you can continue to give without breaking. And when people respect your boundaries, it reveals who values you as much as they value your support. The truth is, drawing the line between compassion and self-destruction is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of responsibility. It ensures that your help remains pure, your energy remains intact, and your relationships remain balanced. Without that line, what begins as generosity will eventually collapse into sacrifice that benefits no one. Not everyone deserves your help. That may sound harsh, but it is the truth. Some people see your kindness as a stepping stone to move forward, while others see it as a lifeline to keep you tethered to their problems. The difference lies in whether they want growth or whether they want company in their stagnation. Helping someone who wants to grow is life-giving. They take your encouragement, your advice, your support, and they act on it. They may stumble, but they rise again. Their gratitude is not just words, it is transformation. You can see the progress, and that progress becomes proof that your effort was worthwhile. But helping someone who does not want to grow is like pouring water into a broken cup. No matter how much you give, it leaks away. They are not looking for change, they are looking for maintenance. Maintenance of their comfort, maintenance of their excuses, maintenance of the story that keeps them from moving forward. These are the people who say they want help, but when opportunities appear, they sabotage them. They ask for advice, but never follow it. They tell you they want freedom, but cling tightly to the chains that keep them safe. And every time you invest in them, you are not lifting them higher. You are anchoring yourself lower. Choosing wisely means asking yourself, is this person willing to do their part? Because real growth requires effort, discipline, and responsibility. You can inspire, you can guide, you can encourage, but you cannot walk the path for them. If they refuse to walk, you are not helping them by standing still beside them. The danger of helping the wrong person is that they don't just stay stuck. they pull you down with them. Their fears become your fears, their excuses become your distractions, their inaction becomes the environment you start adapting to. You think you're helping them out of the mud, but what's really happening is you're sinking into it. True help is a partnership. It is not about dragging someone forward. It is about walking with them as they move. When someone values your support, they show it not by clinging, but by growing. They take responsibility for their life, and your role becomes a catalyst, not a crutch. Choosing wisely does not make you unkind. It makes you effective. It ensures that your energy is invested in people who are ready to rise, not those who are committed to staying the same. Because the greatest tragedy of helping is not wasted effort. It is realizing that while you were trying to save someone else, you lost yourself in the process.